Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Michael with RC Crawling. Today we are going to do our first free mod to our stock C10. In between the last video and this video, I did do one modification. I talked about it a little bit in the last video on the running this thing on the rocks. Glued some magnets here, stuck magnets on these, put a dab of glue on top, so magnet on this, another magnet stacked on top, put a dab of glue on the top, and then line up your body and close it, let it dry. Now you have magnets. You don't have to worry about the stupid body clips. Better quality of life, much nicer. So what we're going to do today, we're going to drop the top of the shocks from the stock mounting point here, and we're going to drop it to the chassis frame rail. And what that's going to do is allow our axles to get a little bit more droop, but it's also going to raise our ride height. With a Lexan body, not such a big deal. With a hard body, it may make everything worse. You'll get more flex, but you're also probably going to roll over easier. So let's take a look at making this swap real quick, and then we will go out and run this on the rocks. Okay, so all we'll need to make this mod, we're using our 0.05 hex head, and we're going to open the body. If you prefer to work on your truck with the body completely removed, all you have to do is remove this screw and one from the other side, and this whole hinge in the body will come off. Sometimes I take the body off. I'm not going to this time. So what we're going to do, we're going to unscrew the top of our shock. So now it's loose. This screw is like a ball head screw. It's kind of pushed into the shock so it doesn't fall out. There's no hole to put it in. So what we're going to do is take out one of these other screws. So, and you can kind of see which, my hands are in the way, sorry. You can kind of see where it's going to line up. The only screw that it's easily going to line up with is this one here on our ESC tray. So we're just going to take this screw out. And we will set that aside. That won't be used anymore. And then the screw that is in the shock, we are going to screw in to the chassis rail. And so you can probably see already this is allowing our axles to drop farther from the chassis. It does make it stand up more. So we've only done the one shock. So that side sits a little higher. It's not super noticeable, but it does raise the ride height a little bit. You can kind of see the difference here. This gap to the fender is a little bit bigger than on the back. So we'll get a little bit more flex from this thing. We're going to do the same thing on the back. I'll show you. Go ahead and unscrew this shock from the tower. And then we're going to unscrew this screw from the battery tray. That will also be set aside. Okay, we'll get this lined up and screwed in. It's a little tricky to do through the camera. And be very careful you don't over tighten these things. They should, once you feel a little bit of resistance, that's tight enough. I often will look at the screws, because once you're getting close to it snugging up against the chassis rail, that's all you need. If you over tighten it, you're going to strip it. If you do, no big deal. Put a dab of super glue on there and then screw it in. The super glue is strong enough to hold it in, but not so strong that you can't unscrew it when you need to work on your rig again. So I'm going to go ahead and swap the shocks on the other side. Then we'll put it on the setup table and go hit the rocks. Here we are on the setup table now that I've got all the shocks moved down to the chassis rails. We'll test the side hill. See if we notice a difference. It's 30, 35, 40. Lost it, 44, 45. About the same as before we moved the shocks. So no difference on the setup table for the side hill. Now we'll test the vertical. It's 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 56, 7, starting to lift, 58, about 60, and it just tipped and sat back on the bumper. About 58, 59, 60, roughly the same as before we swapped the shocks to the chassis rail, so no noticeable difference on the setup table. So we'll take this thing out to the rocks and we'll look at how it performs now. All right, here we are on the backyard course with the C10. We've dropped the shocks to the frame, gives us a little bit more flex. Let's see how this thing does now. These stock rigs are a little jerky and jumpy. I'm used to driving brushless. A bit of a crawler snob in that way. I prefer brushless. That's just my preference. You may not want to go brushless. You may not want to spend the money on it. You may be fine with a brush motor. I've got rigs with brush motors. A lot of this hobby is just what you like individually. This free mod has helped our approach angle a little bit, I feel. Body's sitting a little higher. Oops. And so because the body's sitting a little higher, we have a little bit more area that we can get our tires on the rocks before we hit our bumper. So some improvement. Still very bumpy, very bouncy. It's those stock shocks, they're just friction damped. See, we could do this with some effort previously. The setup table doesn't always tell the whole story. Let's warm these tires up. See if we can get it to grip. Just wanting to push off to the side, not able to get any grip. think what's going on, our front end is lifting. We're also catching the bed, so it's just kind of pushing it around. Try starting up a little bit. Yeah, that front end is wanting to lift a lot. Oh yeah. So a little bit more flex, and we've encountered more problems because of our mod. That's super common. I've found when you do one mod, you address one issue and then you have to address a new issue that mod has created. So no longer able to climb 45 degrees. But I do feel like with that extra flex, we're able to set our tires down and keep contact better with the rocks, which does help some. And this is one thing we're going to address in our build series. We're getting hung up on our lower links. Let me see if I can get a good angle. I'm doing this in the sun. Hard to see what's on the phone screen, but underneath the truck here, we're hung up on our links. So that's one thing we'll address coming later on in the series. I do love a flexi rig. I like how this is handling a little bit better than before we dropped the shocks. It's not making a huge difference, but every little bit helps. I think we're going to lose it here. This is one of my favorite lines, but I don't think we have enough weight to side hill. Well, that's one way to do it. Try this boulder field climb, see how we do. Boy, these tires are just rough. They're so hard and stiff. Very little conformity. Just got to pick our line just right, but not able to get any grip. So I think we're a bust on the boulder field climb. And again, we're hung up on those rear links. See if we can bump over it. Nope, just don't have the clearance yet to do this line. Stock steering servo is weak compared to what I'm used to. So good free mod, improved in some ways, hurt us on the vertical climbs. It's still a great looking little truck. And so far, technically we've spent no money. I had the magnets laying around from my other builds, so that didn't cost me anything. If you don't have the magnets, like I said in the last video, they're about 10 bucks for 80 of them. They'll last you a long time. So much better than dealing with body pins or Velcro. Hung up again. So first free mod completed. Dropping those shocks to the chassis rail. Gave us some more flex, which helped keep our wheels on the ground, get traction. But it also raised the ride height and caused us to perform worse on vertical climbs. So often is the case, one modification will lead to another to address issues that arise from making small changes. I think it's best to do one modification, drive it, see how it does, and make small adjustments to get it dialed in to perform the way you want. If you want to do multiples at a time, go for it. There's no wrong way to do crawling. If you're having fun, then you're doing it right. One other tip that I want to talk about, your little hex driver can be magnetized to make it easier to pick up the screws. And all I do, let me turn the camera around, is these magnets that we use. I take them out of the case and just pull my screwdriver across the magnet. That'll magnetize the tip of this thing so you can hold on to the screws a little bit easier, pick them up with this. They're going to want to stick to this since it's magnetized. If it gets weak, you can remagnetize it, just run it across the magnets again. It makes it so much easier to work with. I've got a tackle box for my parts, so if you need a screw, you can just dip in and grab a few screws. This isn't going to focus right, but I think you can see them dangling on there. Makes working on these a little easier. So I hope somebody found that useful. Hope the run footage was good. I have not watched it. I really couldn't see on my phone screen what I was filming. I am working on the body we're going to use later on in this series. Let me spin you around again. I ordered this KEI truck off of AliExpress for 13 bucks. Took the body, chunked the junky RC parts. It had no proportional throttle or steering. I got inspired the other night and etched a skull in the windshield. And the way I did this, I pulled up a picture on my phone, laid the windshield over my phone screen, traced the picture with a fine tip Sharpie on the outside here. So traced it with this Sharpie from my phone screen, turned it over. I can see the Sharpie lines, and then carefully, I'll turn this back over so we can see, but I did this on the inside of the windshield, retraced the Sharpie lines with this knife, just etched in it very gently, not too deep, and then rubbed red paint on it. Used Q-tips to wipe off the red paint, and the red stuck to where we etched the plastic, so you can now see the skull. I think that's going to look pretty cool. All I've done is black primer on the body. I am working on the bumpers, door handles, mirrors. There's a rack or bar across the back window. That's all going to be red accent. I've got a lot in store for this. I'm going to include the progress after the basic spray paint in the videos to show the details that I'm going to do on this before we finally do a aftermarket chassis and hard body custom mount. So keep an eye for those videos. I'm probably going to intersperse those in along with our modifications to the C10. Originally, I was thinking I would do a body swap on this. I think we're just going to upgrade this and leave it as a upgraded brushed truck. And then we'll do a full custom build for the KEI truck. I hope you stick around for those videos. I hope this was useful and fun. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have ideas on how you would like the builds to go, or if you want to see anything specific when I am working on the hard body. If you have questions about painting details, where to come up with the ideas, leave a comment, anything you want to see. I enjoy reading through all the feedback and would love some input from the community on what you find helpful or interesting. I hope to see you again soon.